All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. Yeah. You know the drill. Put the banner at the bottom there. Send your stories to me. Okay, so obviously we got a late start. I mean, it's 9:46, and so yesterday we were supposed to do, not yesterday, it was the day before, we were supposed to do an interview. My apologies to our guest, Robert Prenz. We're going to try and get with him and get that done. We got a couple things to announce real quick, and then we'll get started because I have to get started. I have a lot going on. Okay. All right. So tonight's in the story, I was going to do a story about a woman named Arlene. But at the last minute, which was not the last minute, yesterday, I guess, and we were in San Antonio. We were doing all kinds of stuff. She messaged me and says, "Hey, there's a lot more." And so I said, "What do you mean there's a lot more?" Because I'm already, I'm looking at probably at least an hour, 2 hours worth of stuff here. So her stuff will probably take up an entire episode. And yeah, so there's that. Here's the weird thing, and it's nothing, and Arlene gave me permission to talk about this. I want to say this. Her husband, and they are actually separated, but they're still friends, right? And they have kids together and everything. He is a devout Catholic and she is not, but he basically told her if she were to come on the show and tell the stories, she would go to hell.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
So he said, let him tell it.
That way you go to hell.
Thank you. So apparently he's knowing full well that if I'm telling it, so, I'm condemned. Thank you for that. But not real sure how I'd know how to feel about that, but thank you though. I don't know his name, but
like Animal Mother, better him than me.
from Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tito, for that donation. Thank you for everybody who donates and helps out with the show. The Patreon people, awesome, doing good work, helping us out. Thank God. I have a very important appointment tomorrow with the doctor. Pray that it goes well, please. But then I got to get some work done to see. I've been having some health issues, folks. I'm not going to get into it, but I feel like I'm going to be fine. I think I'm going to be fine. What else? Found a new gym.
Oh yeah.
And
nice
it
one.
was incredible. I really enjoyed working out there, and it wasn't a dollar more expensive than where we're at now. And it's closer. So I was like, oh, amazing. Awesome. So really enjoyed my workout earlier, and I needed it, folks, because the stress levels are through the roof right now. Blood pressure has been just out of control. I have a million things to do, and I'm one person. And so I have people that help me, but even they're overworked. And you can only do so much, but if I don't work out, I can't focus. I can't do, you know what I mean? Like I can't do stuff. And so really you gotta get in there, and I got to hit the weights. And one thing that really burns me, and this guy, he watched me rack. This made me so pissed off. Good thing I was in the gym that I could go, and I was just like,
Yeah. Somewhere you could channel it.
This goofy he's one of those beady-eyed little squishy head looking guys with the glasses. The beady-eyed with the glasses guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Canadians on South Park.
Reminds me of a certain author, but he, and I'm not going to say which one. Okay. But he just reminds me of that guy. He watched me with his beady little eyes, and he didn't care. He did not care. I rack a machine, I had like one set left on the one next to it. It wasn't, these are free weights, you know, but so it's not really a machine. But he went right there to that station and he took my weight off.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, his weight was like a third of mine, and he put it on there and started playing around. I say playing around because he did like one little set of 3 or something. I watched him. And then he looked at his phone. He just sat there with it. This is what he did with his little beady eyes.
That's what they do.
That's what he did with his little beady, fat little squishy.
And then those same people are like, diets don't work. I tried exercising.
everything.
It didn't work. It didn't do anything.
And he was wearing a tank top of all things. And I'm just like, please, dude. And dude, if you got only some hair right here, no offense to anybody, but just cut it. Just go bald. Bald looks good when you just go straight bald.
Yeah.
Don't let the hair go here and then they wear a cap to try to pretend like they have hair. You don't have hair.
Know when to cut your losses.
Know when to when to hold
man.
them, when to fold them, when to walk away.
Yeah.
We're almost getting to 300 here. And so the guy just sits there, and folks, I kid you not, Tony and Anthony are my witnesses. Where's Tony? Is he even in here? They are my absolute witnesses to this, man. And I'm telling you, this man sat there. He did like nothing. He sat there, and it was like he would look over at me, and he would do this with, you know how those fish look on SpongeBob?
The nematodes.
And they just look at you and they're like, what am I doing? And so he just sat there on the machine or on the weight station, and I needed to get on there because it was peak time and there were people everywhere. And it was unbelievable. You know what I did notice, though? The women that were in there, they were all working out.
Mm-hmm.
The dudes, half of them were working out. Part of them were looking at the women, and then the rest were standing around talking to each other.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Taking up
just in the way, dude.
Taking up space. Get out of the damn way. You lead follower, get out of the way. I didn't see one woman just wasting her time talking. Congrats to the women. And this ain't no virtue signaling crap either. Okay? I'm not into feminism, but these women were in there working out, yeah. And the men were just standing around going, yeah, you know, and I was like,
yeah, bro, yeah, dog.
And you can't know. It wasn't even a bunch of young kids. There were a bunch of young people in there. These were guys probably in their late 30s, early 40s, standing around talking to each other. There was 2 of them that were just taking up space, and I finally said, hey, you know, and then one of them was nice to, you know, he says, oh, hey, sorry, man. You're a big dude. I'm like, yeah, I'm a big guy. You know why? Because I work out. You should try it. I didn't say that. I don't want to. It's my first day there. I don't want to make enemies, but holy crap, it was mind blowing. And so I started doing all kinds of other stuff, and I look over, and there is the nematode. He's still sitting there. He was a fat little bald guy, I couldn't believe he would not move, and he was very hairy. You know, he was real hairy, and he had a tank top on, and you're like, oh, yeah, man, come on. And so after he got off of it, I decided that it would be prudent for me to just kind of wait a while before I went over there to it. And I'm not one of those guys that goes around cleaning each machine. I'm going to clean this because this will save me from the vid and other diseases, because it's not.
I'm a superhero.
Yeah.
Saving lives.
So I finally went over there, and I was just like, are you, and he's just like, I'm still working. I'm like, no, you're not.
Since when?
You've been sitting here looking at your phone. I was aggravated. I was really aggravated. And I was like, and what I showed you, right, when it first started, I said, this guy just took this. He just took it.
Yep.
And then 30 minutes, folks, go by. 30 minutes. And I went and I showed Anthony and Tony. I said, look, he's still there. And he's just looking at his phone. So in your mind, you have this scenario that plays out. You walk over and you're like, when you slap the phone out of his hand, you grab him and you throw him across the gym, and he slams into the mirror, and everybody's like, oh my gosh. And then you just sit down and you're like, yeah. And you just start pumping it, and you get up, and there's like this Rocky theme going. Mm-hmm. And it's the end where it's like, ding, 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 you know? that was playing in my head, and then I just go back to just looking at him, going, dude, I could have just done some Japanime stuff to this guy. Whoa!
Fish of the North
You pull
Star.
out his heart, and you're like, ah, you know.
I did the same thing. I had a little fantasy in my head where we just all went to him and was like, "Hey, man, are we gonna have a problem here? Like, is this gonna be an issue? Are we gonna have to? Are you gonna have to avoid seeing?"
Choke a bit? You're like, yeah. I was thinking that, like, is Josh Turner gonna have to choke a dude? Because I don't want to have to do that with the claw. Anyway, it just, who cares, man? I just, if you've ever been there, if you know, you know. If you've been down that road, yeah. Somebody says go full Kenshiro.
Yeah.
Who said that? In fact, you're already dead. Exactly. That's what I wanted to do, man. I just wanted to just start kicking him until he turns into a ball, and then he just explodes like.
Or like do that samurai sword stuff where you slice and you put your sword in, and once you close it, they fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do it again. Show them how you do
They
it.
wait until you put it back in to fall apart. Yeah.
And then they're like, "Why am I vulnerable?"
Yeah.
They just like,
You
Yeah,
didn't even cut me.
Yeah, and the guy never turns around to witness them fall apart.
No.
He just standing there with his head down.
well, that's what I was thinking.
That's
Like after he explodes, and then you just there's all this gore, but you're just still lifting. You're like, if he dies, he dies. Oh, well, he's dead, and you just keep going, and you just keep lifting. Whatever. But I didn't do that. I did not do that. I just said, I pardon you, and I walked away. It felt good. It felt good. No Kenshiro, Steven. I didn't do that. I wanted to. You challenge the power of the fist, and you know how it goes. But no, anyway. So tonight's story. So what we did, we switched gears a little bit, and I got in touch with this guy. His name's Corey, and I had to, man. Okay, so I thought that I would have time to probably do like a couple different things or whatever. No, Corey's got a lot of stuff, and he just dumped a whole bunch more on me this morning. Well, I wake up and I'm like, what is all this? So I messaged him and I said, dude, where did this come from? He says, you remember I told you this has been happening my whole life? Well, I'm 42. So here's where he grew up. I think I don't want to be mistaken or whatever, but I don't have all of the notes. I have some of them here, but Glastonbury, I think, is where he's from. Look that up. I think it's Glastonbury, England. I want to make sure that I'm correct. Or maybe Glastonbury is the flavor of Kool-Aid. I'm just totally off base.
That might be the name of the flooring that we ordered. It sounds exactly like
No,
that.
I think that's where he's from, is Glastonbury.
Glastonbury.
Glastonbury, something like that. Marlo says, I applaud your discipline and restraint. Yes, well, I don't see a donation to show that. Okay? Then I will believe that you're sincere.
Okay, so Glastonbury is a place, I guess. Let's see.
Told
In
you.
fact, my restraint is waning with your lack of donation.
Your lack of donations disturbs me. No, we're doing good. Thank you guys for donating, man, especially in this economy. Believe me, dude, we are not doing great. Glastonbury, Scotland. There you go.
Oh,
there
Scotland.
It is.
Okay.
Scotland. Here it is, though. He is Scottish, but he lived in England. So maybe I got that confused because he lived in northern England for a while.
That's weird because there is a Glastonbury in southern England by Bristol.
Yeah, he either he lived in Scotland. Okay, you know what? Let me take a look here because I'm gonna mess this up, and I want to make sure I get Marla. I was joking, but thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Marlon.
I was really trying to embarrass other people to do it. Okay. No, wait. Let me look him up real quick. Give me 1 second, folks, because you're gonna want to hear. This is some wild stuff that went on. So he was born in England.
Thank you, guys.
He lived in Scotland for 2 years for a job. So it was Glastonbury, England.
Thank you, Amy Lawrence.
Okay. But he lived in Glasgow.
So that's in Scotland.
Scotland for 2 years for a job. Okay, so this is what happened when he was young, when he was just a wee lad. The Liam Neeson voice, when he was just a wee lad, he had a special set of skills. He used those skills to use his X-ray vision to see women at the bus stop. He was a disgusting man. I'm joking, Corey. Don't start going like, "What? I'm not disgusting." His accent wasn't so bad that I couldn't understand it. So I know he's not full-blooded Scottish. No offense to my friends from Scotland. I got one of my friends, Mark, is probably like, "Yo, what are you doing? I told you about Scotland again." He's just saying a bunch of stuff. In fact, I talked to him on Friday. Mark, your story is coming up. Believe me, and it is epic. Now, I like to call him Scotty because he's Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to get me back. So he started calling me Amerikie. And I'm like, that doesn't have the same ring, dude.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Amerikie doesn't work. And I'm not, what is Amerikie? Is that's not even a native. What is that? He's like, well, I got to figure out I got to get you back. I was like, you don't got to get anything. Just tell me your story. That's it. You don't got to be enemies. Okay. This isn't Zelensky and Trump at the White House. We're just hanging out. I got my own opinions about that. Believe me. So let's see here. So give me 1 second. Let me pull up my notes. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. Don't leave because you're going to want to hear this. All right. So we got it set up here. So here's what he told me. Now, when he was 4 years, or he said almost 4 years old, he believes that he was abducted. But not, most people would say, well, you're abducted. It was an alien abduction. There were aliens that came into your room, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what happened. No. And this gives me this dude, look at this. Look at the hair standing on my arms when I talk about this. When he was almost 4 years old, he goes, it was my earliest memory. He's like, and I'm looking down the hallway and I see these beings floating. They were floating. He says they were full-sized people, but there were 3 of them and they were floating and they had this greenish glow around them. He said, and one of them just kind of slowly looked into my room. He goes, and I closed my eyes. He said the faces were very goblin-esque. Their noses were kind of like their nose. There was no how there's like a definitely you can, what is this right here? The bridge,
Yeah.
But it was like it joined the forehead and it just kind of came down over their lips. The ears were really long and they had these weird ears. He said, and they were going from room to room. He had 2 sisters. He was the baby at that time. Thank you for that donation, adding to Amy's gym restraint fund. Yeah, because that was hard to take, especially when somebody sees you.
Yeah.
Come on. But anyways, these beings, and then they went from room to room, and then they disappeared. And he said this happened night after night for about 3 days. He said on the 4th day, I wake up, and one of these beings is standing in the corner of the room. He goes, and I stared at her for what must have been forever. He's like, and eventually she just floated toward me really quickly, and then she was standing over me. He goes, and she was talking but not moving her mouth, and there were 2 other beings behind her. He's like, these beings looked like 2 of the 3 that he had seen night after night, but the female that he saw that night looked more human but more witch-like, and she lifted up a bony finger. She had greenish colored skin.
Ugh.
And she says, this one will do. We'll take him. But he said in the way that she said it was like years later, he figured out what it was. It was Old Gaelic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, but, Gauls, the Gauls, they've been around for a long, long time. They're an ancient race. And in fact, they have a book in the Bible. Did you know that? It's called Galatians. Mm-hmm. Galatians. Yeah. And that is absolute truth. They actually had, and they are said to have had a race of giants that predated us. They were the predecessors. And that's why the Gauls were very big and strong and powerful. having waged war with them for years, Julius Caesar, he was like, we need bigger, stronger people. We need to interbreed with these Germanics and make a race of beings that can fight these people because they were huge. A lot of them were over 6 feet tall, and they were reddish, blonde-haired, and mean as hell. And they were all related. The Germani tribes and the Gauls were related. But they all had this similar belief, right? And one of their beliefs, which was from the British Isles all the way to the edge of Eastern Europe, they believed in a group of people called the Fae. Now, these weren't gods. These were a sub-natured beings. They were a class of beings that were somewhere in between man and God. They were demigod, physical, but not. They could move through walls. They could do tasks for you if you were so inclined to deal with them. The problem in dealing with them was it never really worked out. It's kind of like having a crazy ex-girlfriend. You take her back and then, something happens, or a crazy ex-boyfriend. I'm not going to be jealous anymore. And then they're like,
Yeah.
I didn't like the way you were talking to your brother. And you're like, no, I wasn't talking to my brother. That was, so you're not even related to that person? That was the real estate agent. We're supposed to go to a showing. Did you? Oh, okay. All right. So I got to unalive that bitch. All right. You're like, okay, it's been 2 hours. It's not working out. That's kind of how they can be. They're very, very, very particular, and they love to cause problems, and they take insult with everything. And it's all you got to do is just make them mad, and then they go from being the cute little Pillsbury Doughboy to, well, yeah, like something really, really, really twisted. You know what I mean? Like a rock star who can't find his cocaine. That kind of twisted. All right. They get really upset. And then they're like, I did this for you and that for you. I rearranged your shoes. Now I'm going to kill you. You're like, geez, Louise, calm down. What did I do? You never said thank you. I can't see you. I don't know where the hell you're at. Okay, I'm sorry for raising my voice. Please don't kill me. Don't take me to the unseelie court. Oh, here we go. That's what happens. Well, he didn't know what this was. Corey was not in the know. He was a child. He was a little child, and it was so weird. So they take him. He's asleep. He wakes up, and he is in the air. He is flying over the city. He don't know what city, because he said it must have been hours he was asleep. He said it was so weird. He goes, it felt like I had been sleeping for hours, and I thought, this must be a dream. Maybe I'm dreaming all this. Maybe this isn't really happening. Then he wakes up by being plopped onto the ground, and he looks up, and he sees these skinny, decrepit beings that are diminutive in like their physical form. He's like, but they're ugly, hideous looking creatures. And there's this man sitting on what looks like a weird throne. He's got a weird little crown on his head, and his nose is hanging down over his lips. And he walks over to this child and he says, you're one of us. What are you doing with them? He has no clue what the hell this man is talking about. So he looks over into the corner and he sees this decrepit, hunched over little creature, pitiful little thing, he says, comes scurrying towards him, and it looks at him. He goes, and as it's staring at him, he says that it begins to take the shape of him. And this thing sits there and it vibrates and it shakes. And this thing starts to become the spitting image of him. He's like, I recognize this from the mirror. It's me. This is me. I'm almost 4 years old. He goes, but I registered what was going on. And this man says, you were one of us. You belong here. So he figured like maybe a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. He didn't know how long he was with these beings. He ate with them. He sang songs with them. And over time, he just became one of them. He was just like, I'm just there. I'm one of them. He says, and every now and then he goes, they would do this thing where they would wave their hands over my head. He goes, and then lift my body up just by putting their hand over the top of my head. And it was usually just one of the female ones. He's like, and I would be sitting in a classroom and I would be answering questions, but I could look through the eyes of someone, and this being was whatever it was. He said he would pull away and he could see like the back of this being. He rarely saw the face of it. Then one day, he's like, I'm out of my body. He goes, there's the only way I could describe. He goes, and I'm longing for home. I want to see my mom and dad. I want to see my sisters. And I float to my house. He's like, and there laying in my bed is me. I'm there. He's like, but I've been with these beings, I don't know how long. He goes, but I'm bigger. I'm longer. My legs, my arms have grown longer. He goes, I looked like I must have been in first or second grade. He's like, and this continued on for, who knows how long. He said, and then finally one day, he's like, this woman comes to the house, and this is just being told to him by his siblings. She is a medium, and she says, that child is not your child. She said, it is not. She's like, they have switched your child with another child. That's why he has the learning disabilities. That's why he's having all the problems. He can't hear good. That's why he can't answer questions. He can barely speak correctly. There's all these problems with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
With him as a little boy. But it's not Corey. So when he comes back, and he came back, one of the elders of these beings that he was with, and this is what they are. He was in this court with him. It goes to him and says, a past life given, a past life taken away, or a future life taken away. Just sort of like a riddle, I can't remember all what he said. It was just, he goes, it was just like mumble jumbo to me. And he snaps his fingers and he's back in his body. He's there. And then it's like he had amnesia, but he remembers key points. So he goes to his mom and dad and he tells them, he's like, I've been away, right? Mm-hmm. He goes, I've been gone. I don't even know why I'm this big. I've been hanging out with these elf-looking creatures, But he's having all kinds of learning disabilities. He's pee-pee in the bed. I'm sorry for laughing. I'm not trying to be funny, but it is really bizarre, right? And he's like, I don't know where I've been. They're like, where were you? We don't know. And she's like, okay, well, you can speak better. That's great. But, so they take him for a psychological evaluation. And he's become like a normal child all of a sudden. He doesn't have a hearing problem. He pays attention. He doesn't go when he, stare off into space. Mm-hmm. There's not all of these problems, whatever. You got to follow what I'm telling you. This is very involved, okay? And it says that, okay. So he fast forward. He's in sixth grade right now. He's moved on. He's finally there. His parents cannot explain why, from the time he was almost 4 until he was almost 7, why those almost 3 years was he basically had retardation. I know they don't want to say that word because it offends people, but that's what it was. Mm-hmm. It was a mild retardation. And so he says, dude, he tells people this incredible story. They take him and they put him in a facility in London. And they said, there's something wrong with this child. Oh, the child is experiencing some really weird shit. He's saying that he's blah, 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 blah. We need to give him blah, 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 blah medication because blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm a doctor and I have a British accent. I know. And they're like, oh, doctor, you must know everything. You have a British accent. I believe you completely. He's like, yes, you should. Pay me. Pay me well. And I like soccer. They're like, oh, deal breaker. Sorry, man. You had me until you said you like soccer, and now I really hate your guts.
Can't trust this man.
Can't trust.
There's something wrong with him. Something wrong with the man's mind.
He's trying to trick you.
Enjoy soccer.
If he trips, if he trips in the waiting room, he's going to grab his knee and roll around the ground for an hour,
like Peter.
I gotta prescribe myself some serious Percocets. Anyways, I'm joking, not to make fun of footballers, but it's the truth. So the guy, he tells him, there's something wrong with him. He's got mental problems, blah, 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 blah. This guy's, whatever. He said, they gave me all these tests, bunches and bunches of tests, telling me that I was screwed up. I had all kinds of mental problems, blah, 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 blah. But apparently I panned out. He's like, I'm playing, sports. I'm playing cricket. And I'm going like, ugh. But, he's playing cricket and soccer. Ugh. And he's doing all these like normal things. I guess that's normal if you're, twisted and weird. And that kind of creepy stuff.
I mean, it's European normal. So
it's European normal. Bubble and squeak.
Not saying a whole lot.
So he's in there and he's living his best life, if you can live the best life with that kind of stuff. And so one day he says, dude, he's like, I'm playing video games. He says, video games, I'm playing video games with my mate, with his friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, and we see this woman walk down the hall. And my friend's like, what was that? I just saw a woman walk down the hallway. He says, I don't know. He's like, oh, is your house spooked? And he's like, well, I don't know. I've never seen anything here. Maybe it is. They get up, they walk, they look. The woman had quickly turned the corner and she was, so they go into the sister's bedroom. His friend freaks out and says, oh man, this is too weird. I'm going back. He goes back into his room. He's like, he stands there for a minute. He goes, and I'll never forget, it was a pivotal moment in my life. He's like, I was in 7th grade. And he says, is there someone here? And he says, there was no answer. As he turned around to walk off, someone says, yes. He turns around, he looks. He doesn't see anything. Then he looks, and his sister had one of those chest of drawers with a mirror above it, He says, I look and I see this old crone in the mirror. And he's like, and then I look again and there's nothing there. And he goes, and I run out. He's like, I would close that door. He goes, I was seeing things periodically in my house. I didn't want to tell my friends because my mates would think that I was crazy and whatever. And he goes, dude, I had seen some things. He goes, my mother had a job cleaning houses. He said, and we would go to these houses. He goes, and when I had come back from being with these beings, which he knows now were the Fae. He says, we would go into these houses. He goes, and I would see things. And I said, like what? He goes, ghosts. Sometimes they look like demons or goblins. I saw horned beings. He goes, there were things in people's houses. I was like, well, yeah, it's England. Like every house is haunted. Like, and he goes, but seriously, he's like, no, I would see these beings. I would see them. He goes, but I lied over and over again to my friends and to my family. I didn't want to be back in a facility. He's like, and I was plagued by these dreams where I would be flying through the air and I would be talking to these beings that I had talked to again. But he's like, and it was very dreamlike. He's like, but then I realized that it wasn't a dream. No, this was really happening to me. And I said, that's good that you recognize that. He goes, yeah, I figured it out. One of the things that he remembers, he says, there was this thing that they gave me. It was a little copper ring. And I was a little baby, so it fit on my pinky. He's like, so I took it to a jeweler. I said, can you make this bigger? And the jeweler's like, yeah, you want me to make it? He goes, but don't add anything to it. I need it to be, whatever. In the inside of it, there was a little band of gold in there. And the guy looked at it and said, there's gold inside of it. Do you want it to be? And he says, yeah. And he goes, well, I'll stretch it out, but it won't be, He said, just make it big enough to fit my pinky. So he said, okay. He said, once it was done, he says, dude, I put it on. I felt this wave of energy go through my body. He goes, but was when I got in the car and I was driving home. And now, I told him, I said, you guys drive on the wrong side of the road, man. It's inevitable. You're probably going to wreck and die.
Yeah.
And I told him, you need Acapulco shirts. Get the hell out of Glastonbury for 48 hours. I'll help you. Blows my weekend, man. I did that for you. I'm your friend. If you know, you know. Okay?
Yeah. This man has a bad heart.
We'll need the cocaine. Acapulco shirts. Get the hell out of LA for 48 hours. Naturally, I have to go with you. But anyways, he says, no, he says, I'm okay. to drive, He goes, but I think I am anyway. He goes, but I'm feeling lightheaded. He goes, and then he goes, the next thing you know, it's 3 PM. He goes, I'm pulled over on the side of the road. I wake up. I'm asleep. Don't know how I was asleep. It was 8 at night. He's like, I had a girlfriend at that time. I was supposed to meet her at 7. I'm over there calling her, telling her, hey, something came up. This is when he was 19. Right? He's like, dude, he's like, my life was getting weirder. He's like, when I put this ring on, he goes, I could see. He's like, you remember, and this is what he told me. He says, you remember Lord of the Rings, right? I said, yeah, I've seen it. He says, yeah. He says, hey, look. He's like, I put this ring on. He goes, and I see like this blurriness, but he goes, I can see these beings, what they were like elders. He said there was like this court that they were at, and I told him, I said it was the Unseelie court, or they wouldn't be kidnapping you. And so he says this court that he would go to, he would see them, and then he could talk to them and commune with them when he would put the ring on, but it only worked if he did it at night. He said, if I did it during the day, because I would fall asleep, I would just pass out and I don't remember anything. He goes, and then I did this regression, this hypnotic regression at the behest of my girlfriend that became my fiance. Tragically, it didn't work out, but he said that she told him, she's like, you need to get some help. And so he did. And when he did this regression, he's like, is that you?
Yeah,
I was like, what is that? Like a metronome or something? Tony's shaking his leg. I'm like,
what is Tony
fidgeting? So it's all right. It's fine. I just didn't know what it was. And so he gets this hypnotic regression. He goes, and dude, the person that did the regression was like, he's got some serious trauma. He was taken as a child and kidnapped by some people. And he was like, these weren't people. These are some kind of beings. And then he said that when he was 17, he encountered what he believed were aliens. Literal, like grays. He was at his girlfriend's house. This is not the one that he ended up becoming engaged to. This was his girlfriend from high school. He goes, and she told him, she says, I am an abductee. Right? Now get this. He tells her, he's like, really? He says, what do they do? She goes, well, they come through the wall. Sometimes they come through the window and they will take me. And so he's like there at her house, and her parents went out of town to go to the lake or whatever. And he stayed the night. He goes, I wake up and there are these 3 beings, these gray beings. And he goes, they have these big black eyes. He goes, and I'll never forget. He's like, she was levitating off of the bed. He's like, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, what's going on? He goes, he sat up. He's like, and then he goes, like, out of nowhere, he goes, I see this green mist kind of going, and it was encircling their feet. He's like, and they were just kind of like looking around, and they were kind of like, like they had this weird look on their face, like their mouths, they had these little tiny mouths. He said, but their mouths kind of closed, like they were wondering what was going on, like they were confused, right? He's like, and the next thing you know, she just falls down to the bed. She wakes up, she sits up, and they literally are gone, like, phew. And she told him, she says, for years we stayed friends, right? Her brother played football with him, whatever. Obviously, I don't really like football much, but hey, whatever, to each his own. And so they were good friends, and he says, my sister was an abductee for a long time. This was years later. He was like 27, 28. He's like, but after you stayed there one night, it stopped. She credits you with that. He goes, I don't know whether I believe it or not. He goes, I believe it. This is what her brother said. I only believe it because one night I was sitting there watching TV in my room, and I see these troop of like gray beings walking down or floating sort of down the hallway. And I watched them do it. He goes, but then I fell asleep. I got real tired, and I just laid back on my beanbag, and I was out. And so he thinks that maybe his interaction with these beings when he was a kid, this is what I believe too, led to him being able to see and interact with all these other beings. right?
Mhm.
Because his first girlfriend in high school, she told him that when her best friend was there, she got abducted, and she stayed. She sat up, saw it, went back to sleep, and was like, "Oh well," But it was like she didn't remember anything. Like they wiped her memory. But then when it happened with him there, she remembers it. When she sits up and she sees these little things inside of her. I can't stand them, but they're in her room, right? So how does that work? What was the green mist? What was that? Was that them telling those aliens to take a hike? Or I mean, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
But then the aliens said, okay, whatever this is, we don't want anything to do with it. And they're like, this is some more weird earth shit. Let's go.
It's like a dog.
Yeah.
They were marking their territory.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you think about it, you got aliens that supposedly, I was watching a thing earlier about Dulce yesterday, about Dulce. Well, it was just on. I fell asleep during, of course. I don't think I've ever watched a full documentary in the last 10 years. Too much work, but it was crazy. So I told Corey, I said, Corey, dude, have you ever seen these again? He goes, no, but I've seen UFOs about half a dozen times. He's like, I went to a party one time in Sacramento. He lived here in the States for a while. And he said he had a job working. I'm not going to tell you what he does, but because it's kind of sensitive, but he said he worked in LA. And so he had this friend and he's like, hey, let's go to Sacramento and do this, blah, blah, blah. There's this big thing there. And there was like this festival. So they went. And he's like, and there was this place where they claimed that all these people were seeing UFOs by the lake. So he went out there and he saw them. And then he told him, he goes, I saw them when I was in Glasgow in Scotland, out in the countryside of Glasgow. He's like, and I saw them in England 3 times. And I said, do you ever remember any lost time? He goes, yeah. And I said, oh, so you may have been abducted by aliens. And he goes, no. I wouldn't lie. I had plenty of lost time, but not from that. I was being taken by these beings, these other ones, whatever. And so I asked him, I was like, dude, do you think maybe, and this is very important. I said, do you think maybe that these things were a type of alien that was taking you? And he says, no, absolutely not. He goes, these things lived, it was like inside the earth. They were inner earth beings. That's what he believes. And I was like, wow. And I had not led him to that point, folks. I promise you, I did not lead him to say that. I didn't go, hey, you're probably taking it to inner earth. Can you tell me that so I can say it without lying? No, that's not what I did. No, he brought it up. And he says, I think they were inner earth beings because he said it was like you were in a cavern and there were all these holes. There were like all these holes perfectly spaced out, and he doesn't remember really seeing anything come out of those holes. He just remembers the holes. And then there was like a king, like a little, and the beings there were ugly. They had big, long noses and ears, and they looked terrible. Think of like Chuck Schumer, I mean, you're thinking like kind of like an Adam Schiff, those kind of people. They look terrible, George Soros.
Nancy Pelosi,
the Rothschilds. You get the point.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. They were hermaphrodites. I mean, I'm just
falling
saying,
apart, people.
Hey, folks, if your name is not in green, get it in green so you can get your membership and you can be involved in the giveaway. The giveaway will probably be on Thursday. We'll be doing it on Thursday. I have a special guest coming on Thursday. We're going to be doing a live interview. He's an OG. You're not going to want to miss it. We're having a special Thursday show. And we're probably going to do it on Monday too, tomorrow. If I can get this guy to message me back, because I really feel bad about. So if you're out there, Robert Prinz, let me know because we want to interview you. I'm sorry that it didn't work out. And cool guy. He's willing to say his full name and everything. But here's the thing. We had a long conversation about these beings and what they could be, what they might be. Somebody in the conversation here just said it too. There it is, James Estrada, one of the OGs of Paranormal Roundtable. He just said it, Darrow. Yeah, under fire. That's a good question. And I asked a question very similar. I said, is there anything that you can do? That maybe, and really no, the only thing he can do is he's had prophetic dreams, but his sister does too, because he thinks that she was being taken before him because she vaguely had memories when they were kids, and then they just kind of faded over time. That's how memories are. But he said that he could see spirits, right? He could see them. And interestingly, he could see a lot of other things too. And he saw something in the forest around Scotland. In Scotland, that I could only say was probably a werewolf or a dogman. We'll get to that in a minute here. But when he interacted with these beings, it was weird. Like when he did this regression, the guy that did the regression recommended him to a woman that was a colleague of his, and that woman was a psychic, and she was from Belarusian. We've talked about Belarus before. Interesting, but she lived in England. And she was legit, and she told him, she says, your past life is really bizarre. She's like, in your first past life, that she's like that, the one before this one. She's like, your first incarnation, you were a fae. That's what you were. She's like, and then you came back as a human. You incarnated, but you had a job to do and you didn't finish it and you died prematurely. This is what he was told. This isn't what he believes or he doesn't know. And I'm just the messenger, folks. I'm just telling you what I was told. So, and this is, I don't know what to believe about this. Now, this is a psychic, this Belarusian lady that tells him. And she says, you may have been taken before when you were a human and you were being given orders, and then you were sent back to do this and you didn't do it. And she's like, and now you've become more human and there's a problem. And he's like, well, yeah, who wants to be a goblin? Like, I don't know how that works. I don't know if that works. I just know that this is what was told. So when you start going down this rabbit hole, there was a lot of stuff that disseminating all the information would take 2 or 3 episodes. But what he told me was very pertinent. He said that the dreams continue to this day. He has these dreams. The ring that he was given, this ring that he would put on, he can wear it all day long. Nothing happens. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he'll get real tired and he'll feel like he's going to pass out. And one time when he was in the States, he was at a mall. And he went and he goes, I sat down at like 2 p.m. on one of those massage chairs. He's like, I wake up at 7 o'clock. Yeah. And finally the security's like, hey man, are you okay? He goes, they thought I was homeless. So I probably would have thought that too if I just see some guy just chilling.
Passed out on him.
Yeah. Just there in the chair, chilling, and so it's really weird. So he ends up, he's like, when I was a kid, okay, so we're going to go back a little bit here. I jumped around a little bit, kind of how he told me, but I need to put it together. He says, when I was a kid, he goes, I remember the first year I was back. And yeah, I remember he lived with these beings. He doesn't have a lot of memory of it, but he remembers some of it. He goes, he remembers eating this white bread-like substance.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, he ate it. He goes, and then he quit eating eventually. He just stopped eating because it seemed like he was getting sick. But at the same time, the being that was pretending to be him was becoming sick too. So they were like connected somehow. He said, so I stopped eating and I stopped sleeping. Or he goes, all I did was sleep. I stopped being awake. I stopped eating. And eventually they sent me back.
Wasn't there a lady who got abducted by aliens and they were talking to her? And they were saying like, there's a food, it's a cube, or like, isn't this would it be this thing? Is this what it is? Maybe.
No, he said it was like a white, cloudy, like almost like cotton candy type thing, but it tasted more salty than sweet. So I don't know, but he ate this weird bread-like substance that didn't have a lot of flavor, but it filled him up, and apparently it was nourishment, and he was fine. But eventually, so he comes back home, and he says, my mother, she took me with her all summer. She thought I was like 2 different people. So his mother started doing her own research because she had the eye. She could see things too. And she thought that he was a walk-in. Like, what happened to my child? There's this child, and then all of a sudden, he's too young to really, they don't really know, they just think maybe he's got, like a type of autism, or he's got learning disabilities, and all of a sudden now he's a different child. So she thought he was a walk-in. And then, she figured it out. They put it together all together. And she 100% believes his story that he was taken by these beings to the unseelie court, and then it was back again, whatever. You have to be real careful when you're doing these things, dealing with these beings or whatever it is. I will not entertain or deal with them at all if I can help it. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be involved in any, I've had people tell me, come do an investigation over here. There's something in my closet that looks like a little elf. I'm like, I'm good. Good luck with that. I hope it works out for you, because I'm not going there. And I'm not one of those people too. Like, you see these people just wandering around in the woods doing all kinds of stuff. And I have some friends that do that, and more power to them. That's good. You do good with that. But there could come a time when you face something that's not good. And, I'm telling you, it could happen at any time. And these things aren't the way you think they are. They may not just gobble you up. They'll attach themselves to you, and they'll go back to your house with you.
Parasites.
And then they'll gobble you up. So that's kind of how that works, and it's not necessarily you just walk out there and you, oh, there's the dog man. We've seen it and it's over now. We've captured it on camera, whatever. No, it's going to just attach itself to you. It's going to follow you home. Folks, they're a subnatured being. I don't understand people. They don't know what that is. They don't understand that you can be physical and metaphysical because it's actually science. Matter in the way that we think it is doesn't exist. It's just vibration. Everything is vibrating really fast. You know what I mean? So then it slows down, it speeds up, it does this. That is what it is. There really is no matter. It doesn't matter. There really is no matter, folks. I'm telling you. There just is, and it's energy, right? And so a lot of people have just argued with me vehemently, and I'm like, open a book. Have you read science books? They're always talking about the data, the data, and there is no data. You're just full of shit. Stop lying. Stop kidding yourself, and stop telling people on your stupid shows that there's data, because there's really not. You can scream it till your eyes bleed. It doesn't make it true. But these same self-same people who claim the science and the data and the blah, 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 they're full of it. Because if you were really into the science and you were really actually trying to become real, you would read current science and you would go, because I've used it to destroy many arguments with people. Religious people, non-religious people, science people, non-science people. And they're like, well, that really is just a theory. I was like, yeah, those are all theories until they're not. And just 3 or 4 years ago, somebody that was lambasting me on Facebook about my silly pseudoscience, and now it's proven that it's science. They used to talk crap to me about string theory. Oh, you're crazy. You're all that crazy stuff, reading books. I believe in science in this house. Doesn't matter. You can argue with one of these religious zealots too, and you'll point out science to them, and they're like, "Oh, it's not one of these some stupid dumb shit. I'm gonna believe that crap." And then you can argue with one of these. Yes, I'm super pseudo intellectual badass guy. My brain is so big, my skull can barely contain it. And then you tell them some things, and they're like, "Well, I don't know what that is. I've never, One guy literally told me he saw a ghost, but he didn't believe it. I said one guy. It's not even Anthony's laughing because there's not one guy. There's a couple of them, and you're going like, huh? And why? Oh, why are you talking to me? Why would you tell me? Well, I just want to tell somebody, you know. So there are these people, folks. They actually really do exist. They have the retardation. You can't help them. They are the way they are. And so you have to just go, okay, and chalk it up to the loss because it's their loss, not yours. There are things out there in this world that if you would have told me they existed 5 years, I'd say 3 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy. I don't know any. And then it just keeps coming and it just keeps happening. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is probably, yeah, this is real. I would say this. When this guy was a kid and he went into this house, there was this stairs, right? And there was underneath, there were these stairs. Underneath the stairs, there was like this little closet. And there was a little, a lot of people have those little closets. And it's basically what they call like a coat closet or a rain closet. We used to have one in ours, old house, creepy little spot there. Oftentimes people see things in these weird closets. And he says this one house, he goes, I hated going there. And my mother would be busy cleaning, and it was this elderly couple that lived there. And he's like, there was nothing to do there. He goes, some of the houses, they had kids, and so I'd go in there, I'd play video games and just chill. He's like, but then sometimes I'd hear things, I'd hear whispering, laughing, all kinds of stuff would happen. He's like, but this one, he's like, I'll never forget this house. The first minute I walked, I knew something was wrong with this place. He's like, and I go in there and there's this creature, this decrepit, hunched over creature that looked kind of like what I had seen when I was living with these beings. He goes, but not really. He said it looked meaner, nastier, more malevolent, and more ancient. And that was his words. And I asked him to elaborate. He goes, it just did. I got the feeling that this thing was from another race. He goes, maybe something that predated them, maybe an ancestor. So it was just ugly, creepy looking thing. He's like, and they had one of those big loud clocks. He goes, and it would come out like every couple of hours. He goes, the clock would strike and it would open the door and look out. He goes, I would see it. He goes, and I would go and duck and hide. He's like, there was this credenza type thing. He's like, and I just kind of sat there watching it. He goes, and it came out crawling around on the ground, and then it would stand up like it was in pain when it tried to stand up, and then it would hobble back into the closet. He goes, so one day, he goes, my best friend came with me to clean house. I wanted to show him this. He goes, so we waited, and when the clock struck, I saw it come out. He goes, and my friend starts screaming at the top of his lungs. And then he runs outside the backyard and he's hiding in a shed back there. And he goes out there and he goes, you saw it, right? You saw the creature, right? And his friend's like, no, I saw a door open by itself. Which is still creepy, I guess, if you're like a 9-year-old kid or whatever, 8-year-old kid. I mean, but I thought it was funny because Corey could see it, but his buddy there he didn't see. All he saw was a door open by itself. That was enough to scare him and make him poop his pants outside. I don't know if he pooped his pants. The guy's listening. I didn't poop my pants. Eating biscuits.
I tinkled a little, but there was no poo.
The British call cookies biscuits. They're eating biscuits. I'm not making fun. I love British people. I was actually in the chat today. Paul Sinclair. Both good friends. Paul Sinclair, Truth Proof, great show. Go check it out. He comes during the day on Sunday. Here in the States, over there, it's like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And it's him and Les, great guys. And they had a good show today. And so I got to catch about 30 to 45 minutes of it. But, yeah. The British have a lot of interesting stories. There's a lot of them. So I started going through, and I have a file. Very creative. It just says British. Did you make that, Tony? Thank you for that. So it just says British, and it's got all these stories in there, and they're all just jumbled up because somebody just decided to throw them in there. Probably me. But I want to blame Tony.
It's easier.
I wouldn't call them British. I'd call them something else. England area over there.
Biscuit eaters,
UK, something like that. It's even more vague.
football watchers, football.
Europe. I'll just put it in a group called Europe.
That would be so big. You'd have like a whole like part 38 Europe, because we get a ton of stories over there. Australia too. Australia, I noticed that there was another one that said Aussie on there. Who made that? It wasn't me. I don't think
I saw that one.
Yeah,
I'm assuming whoever made British made Aussie.
Well, could have been anybody. I don't want to take responsibility. But anyway, I just said there was bunyip and yowie in there and all kinds of stuff. So we're sitting there, and you got to remember too, folks, like I can't take all the credit for it. There's like 8 of us, and we all get stories and we all research. So it's not just me by myself. I can't say I'm the only one hustling. Nellie does her part too. She gets stories. Anthony gets them. Tony gets them. Everybody gets them.
Yeah, I mean, we go
Except for
kind of.
Maddie, lazy ass, she ain't getting none. Maddie, you need to step it up. Stop playing games. Start getting some stories.
I've noticed that I've done like I caught into your habit of like if I meet random people, like if I feel like they might have like paranormal or like I found myself asking them or talking to them about it. Like recently, I've been watching a lot of like Nuke's Top 5s, which are just a bunch of paranormal videos.
Yeah,
so
it's a good habit to be in if you're doing this.
Yeah.
When we get stories like everywhere we go, like today was probably the first time I've been to the gym in a long time that I didn't get a story because I was in a hurry. I had to work out. And I had a lot to do today, folks. It was work. It's just been a nightmare, dude. Just it's taken up. Sorry about Friday work. We had to work. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not independently wealthy. I can't just do this. I can't make a living with this. I got to do what I got to do, man. I would love to one of these days make this be my job. Yeah. But right now it's just not. It's just another thing I got to do. I enjoy it though. That's a good thing. I mean, it's not like I'm just tortured with this. Some people hate their jobs and whatever. I enjoy doing this. So what ended up with this guy? So he says, look, he goes, I'm a child and I see this thing. He's like, it never acknowledged me. It didn't come running at me or anything like that. He goes, but there was this one time. He says there was this black creature. The only way I could describe it. He goes, and it was in this little girl's room, closet of this little girl's room. And he said, little girl is probably like, a kid that was about my age, because I could see by the, stuff that she was playing with and stuff. And he's like, wasn't much to do as a little boy. You can't really, he goes, but she had a little TV in there. So I just watched Disney shows or whatever. And he goes, and I'm laying there like on this little chair, like there was like this little reclining chair. He goes, and I was watching some shows on the telly, and I'm not making fun. I'm just saying that's how they talk. And then he says, this creature, the door opens. He goes, I turn around and look back. He's like, just kept watching TV, He's like, and then I hear the door open more. He goes, and I look back and I see this creature with this black reptilian looking face. He's like, and it like you could see the hand like this, like it was trying to stay still, and it was dark in there because they had these blackout curtains, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, dude, it was dark. He goes, and there was only a little lamp. He's like, and I started to get up, and I was like, I could see it, but it wasn't moving. Its hand was like this. It was stopped. And he's like, it wasn't moving. He goes, and I was trying to like look away and pretend like I didn't see it. He's like, and I looked at the distance of this creature, and I looked at the distance to the door. He's like, and I was like, I gotta get to the door, man. I gotta get out of here because this thing is right there. And his mother, of course, she's busy cleaning the people's house, she's like upstairs or something, or downstairs, and he's like, Mom? No answer. And he's like, oh crap, she's downstairs. He's like, and so he goes, when I said that, he goes, I saw the hand go down. He's like, and it looked like it was on all fours. He's like, the face was reptilian, but kind of cat-like. It had scales. He's like, it was a horrible looking thing. He goes, and I could see it, even though it was in the darkness. And so he says, the girl that lived in that house, like he saw her name, right? And he, it turns out that kid went to his school. but she was a year younger than him. So he wasn't like, he didn't really know her that well. And so he ran into her, you know, playing out in the playground or whatever. He goes, they had separate recesses, but they kind of overlapped. So he says, I went over to her and I was like, you know, I was like in third grade or whatever. And he says, I go to her and I says, hey, I says, you know, her name was like Amelia. He says, Amelia, he goes, you know, my mom cleans your parents' house. And she's like, yeah. And he said, she was a nice kid. She was a sweet kid, whatever. And he said, I was in your room. And she goes, yeah. And he was like, and I saw something in the closet. He goes, her face just completely drained of blood. She was just like, you saw it? And he was like, yes, I saw it. It looks like a black thing. And he said that was the beginning of a lifelong friendship. That girl, that little girl, became his girlfriend. That's the girl he dated when he was in high school. They became friends. And that was his girlfriend until, you know, she left him for another guy. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Sorry, folks. It's not always, you know, sometimes it's very Game of Thronesy. It just happens. And so
World sucks sometimes.
she's like, you know, nothing, Jon Snow. I want another. And goodbye. And he's like, what? Good luck at the wall. And she just rides off, you know, whatever. She goes, hangs out with the Lannisters. They always pay their debts, unlike you.
You never have time for me, Jon Snow. You're always working.
You're always being chased by the goblins.
You're,
You love them more than me.
you're always at that wall. Never with me.
You're always at the wall. So go hang out with your crows. So anyway, she bails on him, right? She you know, but he ends up with this other girl that she was 19, he was 19, and he went with her for a long time until tragically something happened and they're not together anymore. And it was, she's not gone. That's not, people conspired, let's put it this way, to break them up, and they know, but in the process they ended up falling for other people. So I'd say tragically, because it was, you know, and it seems like they both really cared about each other, but he used her as kind of as a reference, as a witness to say, hey, this stuff really happened. So I didn't speak to her, only through email, you know, but she did verify some things for me. She's a real person. She's on Facebook, so he's not making that up. And she was like, no, yeah, this really happened. I was an abductee, right? Or whatever. Or he was an abductee to these beings. Now, when he was 20 or 22, he went through an abduction from these beings. They literally came into their flat, as they call it.
From the gray beings?
Yeah, no, not the alien. That was the first girl he was with. No, these beings. That was the girl, the little girl. You remember talking about?
Yeah.
That he met with the black thing that was out there. Yeah, I'll get back to that in a minute. So that was his first. That was the girl, the first girlfriend. If you follow me, the first girlfriend, the one that levitated and came down.
Yeah.
Her brother, who was a year older than him, they played ball together and stuff. And he told him, he goes, my sister had the abduction stuff and it stopped. This girl was the second girl. She was there. She had just made dinner. She goes, and this is what she messaged. This was incredible. He was floating. And folks, I'm going to tell you this, and Tony Anthony can attest to this. If we had a nickel for every time somebody said they've seen somebody floating outside their window, we'd have 25 cents. But I'm just, we have several.
Which isn't a lot, but it's a weird
Yeah,
amount.
you know,
It's weird that it's happened that
you
much.
get a few of their friends together, you must have $1.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm just saying, like there are stories of people seeing like beings, not just beings, like people floating. I had a story I wanted to tell on one of the shows, but it was very short. So that's why I wanted to do like an episode with like all these little short ones, like the guy from the tire place, right? Or the one where the dude saw his friend floating outside of his window. And then his friend said he was dreaming that he was floating around. I was like, yeah, because you're out of your body, dude. Yeah. And so his friend saw it, you know. But yeah, it was weird. So she sees him floating down the hallway, and she's like, he's enveloped in this like green mist. She goes, I thought I was like hallucinating. She goes, and I go over to him and I'm like, Corey, what's going on? And she tries to grab him and pull him down, and she couldn't. And the next thing you know, he just like goes into the mirror and he's gone. and he's physically gone. Like she told me, she's like, that was the weirdest thing that have ever happened to me to this day. I've never, whatever. And she actually saw some really weird creature flop out of an orb one time when she was in Wales. So that's pretty weird. But she said that wasn't even as weird as what she saw there. And she thinks that being around him, like, gave her some ability, like second sight, opened her up to stuff. So this is very potent, whatever this is, this fairy magic, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm just saying it's a very bizarre thing, but it's very potent, whatever this is. And so, I mean, you could call it a haunting or you could call it a abduction. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know where they fit in. There's like this weird niche there. And you're going like, okay, there's aliens, there's ghosts, and then there's these guys. And I don't, like, if you can say in the comments, if you know more than me, I don't know. I know what each one of them does and how they operate, but I don't know, like, I don't know. You know. So anyways, there's this weird, yeah, somebody says here, correct you, Wolf, Mel Gibson was talking about Christopher Walken. I thought he was talking about Walker, because if you look at Walker, it is, you know, he has a history, they're big time. So I don't know. Somebody can go back and read that, because I think he was talking about Walker, because that dude, that's not even Walker's real name either. It's a whole thing. So anyways, he says that that's something else. But anyway, he says that this thing went on, you know, 2 or 3 times, that she witnessed weird things. She saw this weird troll, as she called it, a little troll-like thing in the kitchen that ran into the cabinet under the sink, and she was standing, she was by herself, and she's like, it was carrying a knife. And she's like, and I'm going like, and she said it was like not, it didn't have the green looking flesh like a troll. It was like kind of dark, like a brown color. I guess like they would call like a brownie, but it had like a little green cap on its head. And she was just like, it had a knife and it ran into the, and she's like, and I'm by myself. She's like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to call the police, you know? And I mean, she goes, I stood there for what seemed like an eternity. And finally I opened the cabinet and there's nothing there. She says that her sister was over one day and they were making spaghetti. And of course, that's an English dish, right? That's a good English dish, spaghetti, right? So they're making spaghetti, and she's like, and my sister's like screams, and she sees this little creature like open the door and look out and then go back in. She said once they stopped seeing each other, and like I said, there was some malfeasance that went on to break them apart. But she says once we stopped seeing each other, she's like, it slowly just faded. It didn't end instantly. She's like, but it kind of just quit. You know, it stopped. She's like, and shortly after we had broken up, she's like, I went to Wales on a camping trip and I saw this, what can only be described as this weird reptoid-looking creature with skinny legs with 3 toes and flop out of like what looked like a gelatin-type orb. And she's like, I didn't speak to her. I just read the stuff she told me. So that was weird. So she saw that, you know, when she was up in Wales. So she said, but nothing was as bizarre as him floating down the hallway. And she's like, I couldn't, it's just almost like overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, and his words to me were like, he goes, I can't have a stable relationship with this kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, he said another time he said he was 27 years old and he was sitting, it was raining, and he was living in the United States, or he was living in Scotland. He's like, and I look out the window, he goes, and I see my reflection in the window, like very clearly. He's like, and then I do this, and you know, the reflection does what I'm doing. He goes, then I put my hand down, and the reflection's hand stays there and starts knocking on the glass. And he was just like, what the hell was that? So he falls backwards, and he goes, I nearly broke my damn neck, you know? He's like, and then he's like, I had this dream that I was out, which I think I was left out in the woods. He's like, and I wake up, but I'm like still like out of my body. He's like, and so I had to like float back into the house where I was staying and go back into my body. He goes, and I was staying right on the edge of town. He goes like, he's like literally, you know, to the north or whatever. He goes, there was the city. He's like, and to the south of me, there was just open countryside. He's like, you could look one side of the house, you could see other houses. He's like, you go to the other side of the house or flat, whatever, He goes, and there was this open countryside. He goes, and then he goes, I had this dream. He goes, and like I said, he goes, I can't always distinguish between dream and not dream. You know, it's just very bizarre. He's like, so I'm having this dream. He's like, and I'm out of my body. He goes, and I go out toward the forest. He goes, and I'm just kind of floating along. He goes, and I stumble upon this creature. Like I can only describe it as like a wolf-headed creature, and it's just chewing and eating something, and I couldn't really tell what it was. He goes, I go around the other side. He goes, and it looked like a person, like it was eating a person.
Oh.
He's like, and then he goes, this thing kind of turned around and was like it sensed him or something. He goes, and then it stood up. He goes, and it was like sniffing the air and growling. He goes, and even though he goes, I became cognizant of being in a spirit. He's like, I don't want this thing to notice me. He's like, and then I have to go back to the house. What if this thing sees me and then follows me back? He's like, because I got the distinct impression that this was a werewolf, like, you know. And so I told him DOGMAN. It could have. I said, do you know what a DOGMAN is? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't think that's what it was. These people say that those are the way all the time, type thing, whatever. And he said, no, this was somebody, like something, you know. And sometimes people like they'll tell you like, no, I really don't think this was I think it was a DOGMAN. And they'll make some kind of different. They'll differentiate somehow. The rules are really there's just so gray. Who the hell can make the? You know, I don't know. People start dictating to us. I saw a DOGMAN, and I'm like, okay, because I don't know what you saw. I can't tell you. And then other people will be like, no, it was a werewolf. It was not a DOGMAN. How do you know? Like, you know?
Yeah.
But some people do. Like right? I mean, they differentiate. Like it's some kind of no. Definitely this guy, he was a DOGMAN. Yeah. You're like, but he changed? No, he's that way all the time. No, yeah, he was just trying to escape the IRS. He owed back taxes and he didn't want to pay them. You're like, oh,
they're known for that.
You
The man dog is much better at paying his taxes, but with DOGMAN, just forget it.
He's horrible. You know, and he was a Cowboys fan, and that's terrible. And so people will come up with this stuff, and you're just going like, how the hell do you know? You know, well, the difference is the werewolves love a unicycle. If you throw a unicycle out there, he'll stop eating his victim and start riding it around.
No, they just can't resist.
Well, I typed it into Chat GPT, and it told me everything I needed to know.
It just said to hum this tune. And then he'll stop and he'll just join in, and then you'll be, that's all good.
Throw in a handheld horn, and he just can't help himself. He's done.
It's that's over. So, you know, so to me, like these rules that people come up with, and they'll tell you all about it, and you're going like, I've interviewed like 2,000 people who've seen this, right? And they don't care. They're like, but those people they're all lying and stupid, and they should all be dead. Look, listen to what I'm telling you, because I'm the guy. I'm smart. Okay, I'm the one that works at Walmart. You need to listen to me. Shut up. Shut up. And I'm like, okay, fine. My boss was a werewolf. One of our employees died. I'm sure he ate her. And then you go and you look the obituary up and like, she died of a heart attack. Yeah, but he ate her. She
died in another state.
That was a wax statue. I saw it. I went there. They're like, wow. And she died in another state. He astral projected through the werewolf portal, ate her heart, came back out, and then pretended like nothing happened. In fact, he was eating cherry pie one day. That wasn't cherry pie. That was her organs. And you're like, okay, fine. I'll let you tell it. But yeah, so he said that he thought it was a werewolf. Like this was like a wolf-like creature. Now it gets worse for him because the thing does see him. He moves himself back toward the house, and then he says this thing starts to follow, and it's looking up at him. So he just like goes way up and goes over the top of his house and keeps going, so this thing won't go to his house. Well, get this. He comes back to his house. He's like, he goes, I come out of this out of body state, it was happening quite a bit, especially in my 20s and teens. He's like, and as I'm coming back, the thing is right there at my doorstep. And then it starts to go around looking in the windows. Ugh. And he's like, and unfortunately my house is the last one, it's like, and then he goes, and it kind of loses interest and just starts to walk around the neighborhood. He goes, and I thought, okay, I wake up like suddenly, he goes, I don't go back in my body. I just wake up. And I'm thinking, and it's morning, and I'm thinking, okay, that was a dream, right? That was totally a dream. That didn't just happen. I didn't just see a damn werewolf eating somebody, doing something. So he's like, dude, I got up. He's like, I put on my clothes, whatever, whatever. He goes, and I just walk out there to where, this thing was happening. What I remember it happening in the dream. He goes, and I walk over there. He's like, and get this. He's like, there are literally bones, like some bones right there. So he freaks out. He goes, they're old though. It looks like they've been there for a long time. So he runs back inside and he calls the police and he's like, I need to report. I found some bones. There's something out here that just, and he doesn't tell them how or why. So when the police come, they're all like, what is your deal here? How did you know there were bones over here? Blah, 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 blah. And so then the bones get taken and there's no head to this, whatever the bones are. But immediately one of the people that's there, they're like, these are deer bones. And they're just like, this is not, you can tell by the rib cage. They've been here a long time and they had been preyed upon. The skull was gone. Now, this is important, folks. Remember this. He says, they told him, they said, there's something, bizarre that like the head of this thing has been taken. It's not there. But thank you for reporting animal bones. And he said they were very like kind of snarky about it. And I was like, well, think about it, Corey. Wouldn't you be? You'd be like, you get called out there and like, next time you call, laddie, we're going to give you a spanking for telling us this crap. This is crap.
I don't know. I feel like if I found some bones, I would. Yeah, I'm going to call the cops.
Well, it was pretty obvious, though.
But there's no head. I mean, if you had a dream, and you saw just some random bones,
and that was another thing. He started telling them that.
Okay, that's dumb. But I doubt that he went over there and like
the guy lifts it up and says, "There's a hoof." I mean, you can tell there's a tail.
It's still pretty weird for him to find bones exactly where he found them.
Well, get this. There was no head, right? Okay. So he's got this boss that tells him, he says, he goes, I got a friend that lives out there in that neighborhood. He goes, and he's having a get together, right? Blah, blah, blah. This was about 2 weeks after all of this. So they go to the friend's house and the friend lives like the next street over, whatever. He goes inside the house. He goes, the first thing I see is this deer head, like taxidermy deer head, And so he says, dude, he's like, it was like, I immediately got uncomfortable. And he goes, I just kept staring at it. He goes, and then this guy walks up and he's like, hey man, what's going on? I'm John. And he introduces himself to me, or in Scottish, I'm John. How are you, laddie? They don't know.
Well, it's Scottish, so it's
ridiculous. He's like, you like haggis? No, you get nothing but the weenie. And so anyway, he shakes his hand and he goes, the guy's name's John. And he's like, whatever. And he's like, you like that? He goes, I took that one down myself. He goes, right back here. And he was like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, right back there, but at the tree line. He goes, I took it down. He goes, something had attacked it. He's like, and so I put it out of its misery. He's like, but it had such a beautiful rock, I decided to take it. And he goes, holy crap. And then he goes, when he looks at the guy, he goes, the guy turns. He's like, and when the light catches his eyes, he goes, I could see his eyes change color. And he's like, he goes, I felt so faint. He's like, and then he goes, I hear this. Sometimes I would hear this voice, like a female voice, right? Right. And he's like, and I think it was the Fae that would tell me things. He goes, and I got this impression that it was like my mother, not the mother that I had in this life, but like in a past life, And she told him, she's like, he's a killer. And so when he hears this, he's just like, what in the holy hell? He goes, I'm not feeling too good. I think I need to go home. He said that this guy made it a point to follow him out, and he put his hand on his back, and he was like, are you sure you're okay? You remember the other night when Abe was talking about how people would touch your back?
Yeah.
Abe Sears, Spiritual Encrypted Encounters with Abe Sears. Check it out. He's got a good show. And she's like, people will touch your back, and then they'll say something in brujeria, And he says, it'd be unfortunate if something happened to you. Go get some rest. He's like, I'll come check in on you. He's like, I'm looking at this guy. He doesn't blink. He's just like standing there, and sociopaths do that. They'll just sit there and they'll go, and you're like, aren't your eyes burning, dude? It's burning me looking at you. Blink your eyes. They're like, no, because I'm crazy. I don't feel anything.
I haven't blinked in 3 days.
Nor have I slept. All I've thought is ways to unalive you. Like, I don't know you, dude.
If I blink, that gives you time to where I'm not watching you.
Where you could run away. But so somebody says, did I miss the Dogman story? Yep, totally missed him, man. Totally, absolutely missed him. The Dogman stories are over. In fact, we don't do Dogman here. Nope, we never do.
Figured it out.
Go to Dogman Encounters and just knock yourself out with people telling the worst encounters you've ever heard. Just joking, folks. Some of them are actually pretty good. Go check it out. So this guy, he tells him, he says, look, and this isn't Dogman Encounters. So I don't know what you're thinking, dude. And if you're even a real guy, who is Com Jones? I've never even heard of this guy.
Is he new?
Yeah, he's just some new guy that's just in here talking. Dude, go be calm somewhere else. So, anyways, sorry guys, these people that troll us from Oklahoma, they just come in here and they say stupid things under fake accounts, and they think that So that's who Com Jones probably is. So, anyways, this Dogman, whatever it is, werewolf guy, whatever, he tells him, he says, and this is what he's thinking. There's something wrong. It's just this guy. Right? But he says, the next day, he goes, I didn't sleep. He goes, I went to work, I came home, and I just sat there. He goes, and ridiculous. He's like, I'm like looking out the window thinking that this guy's a boogeyman. And then I finally thought, man, this is stupid. Like, I've seen a lot of weird stuff in my life. He's got the eyes, what he's got, and I said, man, just go to bed, whatever, he's telling himself. Mm-hmm. He says, and no sooner did I go to bed. He goes, I stayed in Scotland for 2 years. This is why I left. A great job. He's like, I hear the door open. I'm upstairs. He's like, I sit up and I'm like, and I hear da-doom, 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 like somebody's walking, these hardwood floors. He's like, and I go over to the rail because there's like this loft, He's like, I look down. He goes, and I see this guy. It's raining, and this guy's like drenched in water, and he looks up at me. He's like, and he growls. He growls at him like a freaking animal. He's like, and I look down, and there's no lights on. I just see these yellowish amber eyes. And he's like, talks to the guy. He's like, what do you want? Like, what are you doing here? He goes, and I couldn't really make out like who he was. He's like, and I'm going to try to turn the lights on. The lights are off. He goes, I think this guy has cut the breaker. He's cut it. And he's like, why are you in my house? And the guy was like, I came to check on you. And at this point, he goes, I'm thinking about jumping out the second story window. He goes, I had an axe and a sledgehammer and some other tools that were just right there from the previous tenant. They just had left them. He goes, I just put them in the corner and forgot about them. He goes, oh, okay. He goes, so he slides his hand over and he grabs the axe. And he's just like, okay, well, let me come down and let's talk. And the guy tells him point blank, he goes, leave the axe. And he's like, at this point, he goes, I'm no punk. I'm a big dude. He's like, and I'm not going to be afraid of this man. He goes, I don't know if this man is something or nothing. I don't know who he is, and I don't care. Okay, Com says, I'm a real person. I listened to you a few months ago. I heard you on Big Show. I just wanted to see if I missed Dogman chat. No, man.
We're just not doing it.
We're just used to being trolled.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes they'll get through, even though we have a pretty tight net with Lolo and Sailor and everybody.
Oh, if you're new, then we kind of do a wide variety of paranormal.
Tell them to get in here too.
D was in here. We do a wide variety of paranormal. So, yeah, you might catch a Dogman story soon, but not today, unfortunately. We're going over Calm's story, which is phenomenal. He's dealing with fae, aliens, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and the guy promised me that he had a lot of stuff that happened to him, and he didn't lie. So what ended up happening with this guy, he says, dude, the guy goes, well, I could see you're good. I'll be back. And he turns around and he slowly walks back out, and the door is wide open. He's like, so I have to go downstairs and close the door. He's like, I get downstairs. He goes, and I hear this. What was that? He goes, I hear this growling coming from outside through the rain and the wind. I could hear it. And he's like, and then he just closes the door. He's like, and I'm like walking backwards, dude. He goes, I'm thinking, this dude, that dude, there's something wrong with this guy. This dude's a freaking werewolf. That's what is that?
It's your phone. It's on
That's
vibe.
my phone?
Yeah. Mine's on
My
silent.
phone doesn't do that.
Mine's on silent.
I don't know why it would do that. So anyways, he said, this dude, he goes, I think he's a freaking werewolf. He goes, I have no other way to whatever. He goes, and so I go upstairs. He goes, I don't sleep. He goes, after 2 days of not sleeping, he goes, I go downstairs. I had to work on a Saturday. It was a Saturday. I shouldn't have had to work because he called me in. He's like, and so I have to go. He goes, and so I'm getting in my car. It's early in the morning. He goes, and I look, and it's almost daylight. You could see, it was, he's like, I was freaked out. And he's like, you've been up for 2 days. He goes, maybe I'm hallucinating. I don't know. He's like, but I see this black wolf come out of the tree line and just staring at me. He goes, and I just see these eyes. And he goes, and I'm like, what in the hell? He goes, so I get in the car and I take off. He goes, and then I come home early. It's about 2:00 in the afternoon. I didn't work a full day. He's like, and he goes, in there, I'm really, really tired. He's like, so I go to bed at like 3 in the afternoon. I wake up, it's 11 p.m. and it's raining again. He's like, and then he goes, I remembered I'd left something in the car. He's like, so I go outside, because I put a slicker on, to go outside, and I went to the car. He's like, and then there I see it. He's like, right there, like almost to my neighbor's house. He's like, it was right there. He's like, this werewolf, like full on, like werewolf looking creature. He goes, I wasn't out of my body. I wasn't asleep. He's like, it wasn't a wolf. It wasn't a man. It was a man-wolf-like thing standing there looking at me. He's like, and it spoke to me in my mind. He goes, and it was like, well, he didn't say mind. He said spirit. And I said, could it have been mind speak? And he's like, maybe, I don't know. It was like in my head. Okay. So he says, this thing tells us, like, I know you know. And it told him, he says, leave this place. And he said, okay. He's like, I didn't argue. I was like, now, do you want me to leave now? Because I mean,
say no more.
It's raining. I mean, if you don't mind me if not eating me while I get I got a lot of stuff.
I got my bags packed already.
He's like, dude, I went inside. He goes, I grabbed 2 suitcases that I had already packed.
I knew it.
He's like, and I went back outside and I was looking around for this effer. He's called it effer. He goes, and I'm like, this thing is 7 feet tall. I don't know what this thing is. He goes, and I'm like throwing the bags in the back, whatever, and it closed. As he's like, and as he's trying to get this is the weirdest part right here. That wasn't the weird part. He goes, as I'm going to get in the vehicle, I see it like right there in front of my vehicle. This thing tells him through his spirit, mind, whatever. It tells him, it says, tell her that you're fine and to leave me alone. So he gets in his car and he's like, he goes, I want to ask, like, who the hell is her? What are you talking about? But I didn't want to argue with this thing. He goes, and I am scared. He goes, it scared the crap out of me, dude. He's like, and I peed on myself. He goes, I'm shaking. My hands are shaking. I'm starting to urinate. He goes, and this thing's standing there looking at me. And he's like, and it was a full-on dogman, werewolf. He goes, whatever y'all want to call it in the States. He goes, I say it looked like a freaking werewolf. I don't know what it was. He's like, and I really screwed up by calling the police. I said, yeah, I probably wouldn't have done that, just because I'm from the country and I can skin a buck and so I know what it looks like,
Well, I mean, I don't think he went near it.
He had never been around a deer carcass. So.
Well, I don't even think he went to the bones to actually pick them up and look at them. Like, I think he just saw bones and was like, I'm getting away.
Yeah. That's exactly
so like, it makes total sense why he didn't recognize it.
I still think he would have seen the hook. That's just me. And plus, I'm from the country, though. He's not. He's not really a country guy, man. He's from the city. Well, he's lived in towns, And but So when he was up in, so this is what happened. He ends up leaving. He goes to the States because now he's terrified. So he just doesn't even want to be on. He doesn't even want to be in the UK. He's just like,
Yeah.
he goes, I'm getting a job. I'm going to LA.
This place sucks.
This place sucks. I just, so he's like, dude, I go to LA for a fresh start. He goes, me and my girlfriend had split up. It was very traumatic. I had just, we were kind of rekindling things, and then there was just too much water under the bridge, blah, blah, blah. So he goes to LA, and in LA, he stays in this one like crappy loft, and he's got these two roommates who are in a band. They said it was absolute horrible. He's like, I'm trying to start over. He's like, dude, he goes, and he's like, it was bad too. He goes, I went to this. I gotta tell you all this part. So he goes to a job. I'm not making fun of the guy, but he was naive, right? He goes to a job interview, and he's like, make your own schedule, good money, meet people, it's you get to know people, all this other stuff. And he's like, well, I'm a people person,
Mm-hmm.
He goes, and they're just like, so have you ever worked in the porn industry? And he's like, I think I'm in the wrong. He's like, no, I didn't. I thought
this was a modeling.
I thought that you were like, because he was like, they were looking for guys to and basically said that you could meet women and travel and do all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I didn't know that's what that was. He said, so there was a lot of I was trying to learn the ropes, man. He's like, I go down to Venice Beach, I hear all this stuff, and it's just full of people with drugs and purple hair, and they just want to beat you up and kill you. He goes, it's not what I thought it was. I was like, yeah, LA, it's a cesspool of crap. I've been there, and hung out there for a little bit, and then like him, I was like, hey man, Venice Beach, cool. Got into a fight with a guy, big guy, because he didn't like the way I was working out apparently. But anyways, I mean,
I just don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to read Colm's comment because I thought it was very nice. He says, thanks everyone. I have seen the trolls. I found your channel around 2 months ago, and I can't understand why someone would get, and I think he meant to say can, and I can understand why some people get so jealous because this show has huge potential and their stories are crap.
Yeah.
So thank you, Colm.
Well, they don't know how to interview
cool.
and talk
Nice
to
of you.
people. Get this, folks. I'm going to say this. Some of the people that we talk to, like literally have talked to other people. Like they've been interviewed by other people. And all they do is tell one little aspect of the plethora of stories they got. They'll take their Dogman encounter or their Bigfoot encounter or their ghost encounter. Like the ghost people, they're really bad about that. I'm not attacking the ghost community. Please, I don't want any, because they're real snarky. But they'll take the ghost encounter and then they'll be like, well, what about the abduction? Nah, we don't want anything. No, Bigfoot, giant monkey man running around. No, we don't want that. They just want your ghost, and that is it. I had a woman that recently, I'm not going to disparage her, but she was like, I want to come on your show. I don't even know this person. She's big in the ghost community, according to her. Well, she had a lot of followers. And I said, okay, what are you going to talk about? Ghosts? And I said, well, have you ever had anything else happen? She's like, I don't talk about the physical things. We're just going to talk about that. And I was like, you're going to tell me what you're going to come on the show and talk about. How about this? How about a big no?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a big fat no on that.
Yeah, I'm going to give you $100 and I'm going to take it away.
I'm going to sleep on this and decide tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've decided. Okay. I'm the decider. All right, bro? Yeah. So, and I'm not some, quick knee jerk, blowhard guy that's just, if somebody was a guest or whatever, oh, who you think you are, I am quick with these trolls. This is one thing I just don't put up with, but you're not going to tell me like, well, I'm going to come on, we're going to talk about this, and if you don't like it, too bad, no, because the show is going to go in whatever direction we go. The guests will say what they want to say. And if they don't have enough to fill it,
They'll come back.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if they have too much, they can come back. I mean, it's just, but when you tell me exactly what we're going to do, and that's okay to a degree, but like when you take everything off the table that makes PRT what it is, think of it like this. And this is an analogy, folks. PRT is a pizza, right? It's just a big pizza, but it's got everything on it. If you don't like the jalapenos and the olives, take them off, man. Okay. Don't listen. All right. Stick around for whatever the part is that you like. because this pizza is a, what is it called? The Supreme,
Yeah.
Supreme, yeah.
Sampler or whatever. It's got everything, bro. So
Meats and vegetables.
meats, vegetables, yes, it's got everything. And if you don't like certain ones, well, too bad. Because it's all part of the same pie, folks. It really is. It's all part of the same whatever. And so you can't please everybody, and that's not what this is. We're not trying to please everybody. I'm just doing what we all like here at PRT. We all like this. This is what we do. And we like it when people give us the stories and they, and there's a human element there. There's a people like Aaron, the guy Aaron that we talked about the other day. He was cool. I love talking to that guy. He was awesome. There were so many people that I've gotten to talk to from all over the world. The lady, one of the coolest ones I did was the lady from China.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter was translating for her, but her mother really liked me because she sent me like a package from China. Now, unfortunately, I didn't open it because I don't open crap from China. I'm like, what is that? That could be anything. That could be anthrax.
That could be a
Get out
Chinese
of here.
person.
So I messaged her daughter. I said, I'm sorry, but I didn't open the package because I don't trust China. China is a very weird place. I just don't do it. They're very terrible people, folks. Don't go there. Don't go to China. They're polluted. Everything is horrible. I'm joking, Ma. I'm joking. Her name's Ma. I'm joking. I told her I was going to.
When we were living in the apartments, I ran up our phone bill because I was talking to someone in Britain.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. And it was like $500 or something. Like he was like, I just talked for an hour.
Dude,
Yeah, because you were interviewing somebody from Great Britain. Yeah.
I didn't know to call him on Facebook. I just called him on the phone.
That was back in the day when we learned.
Yeah.
Because Armando was just like, we were all doing stupid crap. We didn't know. And we thought we could be friends with everybody, and that didn't work. And Armando's like, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
He really was like not feeling the vibe once it started. He was not prepared for all the nonsense, dude.
He saw it early and just
he was like he was out, man.
That's all. But he was always that way though. Like he didn't want his full name out. He didn't want his face out. Like all of it.
Yeah, it was.
I think
the thing with the little communist dude that kind of pushed him over the edge. And the Dogman Whisperer. So, anyways, yeah, we've been through the ringer here, folks. We've been through it all. And so, but the lady from China, though, seriously, that was interesting because now you remember, and the reason I bring that up is because you remember she was abducted and she was taken to the inner earth and she was dealing with these beings. So I reached out to her daughter. Her daughter's a doctor, actually. She's really cool. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia now. But I messaged her doctor and I said, hey, I got a story that this guy gave me from England. Can you tell your mom to kind of look over the notes and see what she says for similarities? So her mother got on the phone with me, and she's like, he lying. People no do that. That lie. He lie. And I said, oh. So I called Corey. I said, why are you lying to me, man? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I talked to a lady from China, and she said, you're lying. Then I get the call back and she's like, that recipe no work. I'm like, recipe? She's like, yeah, no pot sticker. No, that's not how you make them. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So I accidentally sent her a recipe trying to get pot stickers. My bad. Sorry, Corey. I totally made all that up. I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. I'm just jokes. Items jokes. Because you got to break it up. People get kind of freaked out, scared. It's kind of weird material sometimes. You got to break it up. But no, what really happened though, I talked to her daughter and I said, hey, you got a minute? And most of the people we've interviewed, they're really cool. Like you can talk to them again. And they're like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I'll talk to my mother. And her mother was blown away by some of the things that he was describing. Like the tunnel, like the thing with the holes and all that. Mm-hmm. That's what her mother saw. So it's like, it just adds credibility to what he's been saying because I personally believe that this is true. I can't say everything that he went through was correct, but think of it like this. His ability to see with that second sight is what tipped him off to that guy possibly being a werewolf.
Yeah.
Because he saw that guy, but this is what's so weird. He saw that guy doing that back in time, right? Mm-hmm. Those bones had been there for a long time. Mm-hmm. So when he saw that, how does that work? Like folks, this is so weird. How does that work? Like he saw this guy. If the story is to be believed, and I'm not saying you're lying, but if allegedly, right, he saw this. this guy was eating a carcass. He thought it was a person, but maybe that's his feeding ground. Who knows?
Yeah.
But then the authorities come and they see it's a deer carcass, and they're like, "What is wrong with you? You call us out here for a deer carcass?" I'm only assuming they talk to him that way. They're like, "You're like a fat little child."
Are you daft?
Corey's not even fat. I'm joking. Corey's probably like, "I'm not fat. I'm big boned and I lift weights. I weigh 10 stone." I don't even know what that is. I don't even know if that's probably 800 pounds raw enough. But no, he's over there and he sees this deer carcass, whatever, and then he finds out that this guy that lives there, the deer head may have been from anything. It might not have even been from that, but it triggered something. And the guy was like, because if he is a shapeshifter, he's got that other on him. Now, folks, if you're a listener of the show, you know what that is. He's got that other on him, and that thing's over there like sliding around like venom going up his spine. He knows, And so he's over there like, what do you know? Now, the weird part is that he didn't try to kill him or unalive him or whatever, didn't do anything to him. But he told him at the end, he says, tell her that you're fine and to leave me alone. Who was her?
I mean, obviously, it was the voice that he
The crone?
The voice, I think.
Yeah, well, I think that this crone woman that he was seeing throughout his life in the mirrors and things like that, he said that he thought that there was this woman that was like his mother. She was very motherly. The one that said, we'll take him. It's him. Bring him. This was his fae mother, his fairy mother. Fairy godmother. They protect you. They do things.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, this is going to sound completely weird, but I think the fairy tales may be correct. She was watching out for you, and she was probably on this dude, and she knew what he was.
That might, like I was going to say.
This gave me the chills even talking about it.
I was going to say it earlier, but
it's really cool.
Him seeing it back in time might be one of two things, in my opinion. It might be a warning from her saying, hey, watch out. You're in a dangerous
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it might be like, hey, I'm trying to warn you. Or
there's a reason we kept this fool around.
It might be the spirit world doesn't have time like we do. You might.
That's right.
So like he's dreaming, he could see it because it's happening right then. He probably saw it as it was happening, but it was a dream.
You remember that documentary about Billy the Kid where they got real high on peyote and they were riding their horses?
And the Comanches wouldn't mess with them.
Yeah, and they were like, we're in the spirit world, for all you can't see us. That was a cool documentary.
Documentary.
I was like, I learned so much about Billy the Kid from that. Not really, because it wasn't real, but you know what I'm saying. Like it was cool. It was a dramatization. Yeah, but anyway, it was called Young Guns. It's a documentary. Go look it up, folks, and y'all all watch it together as a family. It's a good movie, family movie. But no, it's just it makes me wonder because like I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. So what if that is what happened? Like what Tony just said. Like what if she was showing him
a warning?
But he's the creature though. Think about it. It saw him and it followed him and it went sniffing around his house. But what if that's what really happened because he was back in time and it saw him at that point in time? That's really weird to think about. Because I've had people tell me about spirits. I'm going to do a show about spirits of the living because I've had people see their past selves. I think it's even happened to me. I've talked about this, but around on the show, maybe not. But and people will see themselves standing behind themselves. You know what I mean? Like we've had people say things like that. And I really want to like someday do just talk about the spirits of the living as opposed to the deceased and how the lines get blurred. So folks, if your name is in green, we're going to do the giveaway. Well, Dick Richards, that's your problem, dude. He said I stopped getting high ages ago. Whatever, dude. I was high. I was high last night.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry,
I
man.
with 12 games.
Hey, man, I hope you get that problem taken care of, though.
I've been high since 2003, bro. I don't even know what it's like anymore. If I took it, I'd probably be like, take me to the hospital. I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing, man. Just probably just tell them the truth. You walk up to the police officer at the hospital. I'm high. You can take me to jail. I just don't want to die. I am just so high. Take me to jail. And the cop's like, oh, hey, well, hold on now. All right. You don't tell me what to do. I'll take you to jail when I'm ready. So that is a very interesting theory. Yes, thank you for posting that, Maddie. Also, post a link to the Patreon. Patreon, we've had a lot of fun on those Patreon shows.
Yeah.
Folks, if you are not a Patreon member, not only do you get swag after 2 months, you get another swag bag after 6 months, and then you get, it keeps going every 6 months, you get another swag bag, depending on what tier you're on. And then on top of that, you get the extra show. You get 2 extra shows a month. It's awesome. It's a great deal. And we got these tumblers coming out now. We got the meeting on Tuesday. We're going to get that done. I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And then I record with an OG on Wednesday. It's going to be great. And then he's going to be on the live. We're going to do a live on Thursday.
You guys should be there. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I know who the OG is. So trust me, you're going to want to be there.
It's going to be good. So we got a lot of work to do this month. We're going to be on the air on here a lot. We're going to be doing a lot. All right. So if your name is in green, let's do the giveaway. A couple of people. It says Chuck Barker says, I've never won. Well, Chuck, you just bark at the moon, brother. You just won. Andres says echoes of the past or time is overlapping. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a weird.
Well, time, I saw someone say it, and I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but it says time wasn't always a linear construct. And we mentioned it all the time. No pun intended, but we mentioned all the time how like time is a human idea, and it really is. Like how we perceive it is incorrect, because really, what is a day to the sun? What is 1,000 years to the earth? It doesn't matter to them, because we base time based on our lifespan. So like
Yeah, it is. We're looking at it through a human lens. Yeah,
but to spirit, I mean, and it might be that like she did some, like the crone mother, fairy godmother did some magic.
Fairy godmother. I mean, we're just calling it that because we don't know.
It really does sound like him. I mean, it really does fit.
Some kind of passenger he has. Put it that way.
But what if she like was warning him, but it wasn't a warning like, oh, here, look at this video of what happened in the past. Instead of what it was like, I'm going to take you there and you're going to witness this, because I like you, even though you might think that it already happened in the past, to me, it's happening all the time. I can go there and see it because time doesn't matter to me. So I'm going to take you there and you can see it. And while she did that, the dogman, the thing that while he was eating, he obviously felt a presence and started sniffing around. It's like the not Inception. What is that movie where they go into space with it's a movie where it's
you're talking about Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Yeah,
it's not Top Gun.
Not Top Gun.
No,
he doesn't go to space.
Unfortunately, it's not Top Gun.
But I know they take a ride to the danger zone. They sing that song over and over again.
Dude, that movie was lame. I'm sorry. But
especially the millennials.
The second one was pretty good though. Like for a sequel, not gonna lie.
But
not bad.
In Interstellar though, there's a moment where the main guy, Matthew McConaughey, is sitting with his daughter and he keeps hearing a knocking and his book falls out and he's like, what the hell is that? Well, then later on in the movie, it's him knocking and he's trying to warn him.
Yeah.
So it's like, this time just doesn't work the same.
Yeah. And then you have alternate realities.
And you have like where it's one reality and it happens because of like how events happen, but it's all happening at the same time. Like they can affect each other, even though they're technically from 2 different timelines.
Yeah. And interesting.
Well, then past and present are like constantly happening too. Like the past doesn't go away. It's an event in time that's like still there playing out. Like just like forever.
I mean, we've talked about like, I don't know what we call them, like time bubbles or time portal or whatever, where it's like
we need to do another show. We have so many people who've reached out about stuff like that.
but like a space
Mhm.
where like time seems frozen, or like a space where it seems like things didn't move on, or you might see. You know how like sometimes people say like, oh, it was just all of a sudden this whole space just looked old timey, and I saw a ghost that
Yeah.
looked old timey, and I questioned. I was like, is it a ghost, or is it maybe an alternate reality where you're directly seeing an old timey person, or is it maybe that it's a time bubble where
Yeah,
like
that makes sense. And
so,
old
like-
timey to you guys is like what, 2005?
I was
No,
2019,
not really.
You're like, this person looked like they were ancient. They were like from the time of Eddie Bauer,
2005. What is that?
1996, like on South Park.
Last century.
From the time of Lisa Frank.
So, anyways, folks, if your name is not in green, get in green, and it's just $5. Become a member, and then you can be entered in the giveaway. Your name is in blue, Mammy J. She says my name is in blue.
Because she's a moderator.
No, your name is not in blue. Not that I saw. She's not a moderator.
Oh, well, I mean,
She's
if
a
it was in
member.
blue, that's what moderators are.
Now, members are not the
She's
same.
talking about like on the screen.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
Probably.
different. That
Yeah,
right there.
those are just random colors.
Yeah, and being a member is not the same as being a Patreon. A Patreon member is different.
Yeah.
Patreon, you get all that stuff. This is just for a giveaway because we don't put stuff behind a paywall.
You're talking about the Ouroboros, Andreas. The snake that eats its own tail.
You talking the big snake? Are you talking about?
Oh, no, he's talking-
Jormungandr.
Yeah, he's talking
That's
about Jormungandr
Jormungandr.
because he goes back in time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. And he ends up. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Episode 300. We hit 300 podcast episodes.
Yeah.
That's quite an impressive thing considering we all just came. We started out in Armando's garage.
Yeah.
It's like,
Who knew we'd be doing it today?
I like that show, Invincible. Mark traveled through the future, doesn't know where to put his clothes, and suddenly Mark's arms comes through a time pocket and takes the clothes. I don't think I've seen that one yet.
No,
don't ruin it for me.
it's in the comics.
Yeah, I've read some of it. I have the whole compendium, and I haven't even gotten to delve into it. I have
Yeah, I liked it a
stuff
lot.
everywhere. So this, in conclusion, what with this guy, like he's still going through all of this, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's happened to him. When he was in the States, he ran into this woman who was like a witch and tried to take him, and use him, What was that? Was that you?
No, that was a chair. I was gonna say thank
I
you
was
for
like,
the
damn,
donation.
you're just like cutting them right here on the show.
I'm not Anthony,
It was
bro.
his chair. I wouldn't let him live it down if it wasn't.
I'm not
I wish
Anthony.
it was.
I have control over my
You
body.
could've just made
I
fun
mean,
of
I
him
wouldn't be embarrassed.
relentlessly.
I wouldn't be embarrassed if I just ripped one.
I
Well,
would.
yeah,
I'm saying,
Anthony
though.
was like, we were in that
I mean, just don't
graveyard,
do
or
that.
not the
Who cares?
graveyard. What's it, Lawrence Cemetery?
Yeah.
And Anthony was walking around just ripping it, dude. He didn't
Yeah.
care. And if I got to do it, I don't want to be rude or make people like think bad of me, but I'm not gonna just.
That's why
I'm
ghosts.
not gonna go like, oh, I'm not gonna do it. I don't poot.
That's why ghosts attach themselves to you.
Give a
You
crap.
go around pooting on them.
I think
Ruining
people that like,
No, that's a
you
repellent.
know what happens if you hold it in, right? You bro up.
Yeah. What do you think spontaneous combustion
Combustion
comes
comes
from?
from
I mean, you got to
somebody who
fart,
holds their
right?
poop in or fart in.
I thought it was when they hold their sneezes.
If you don't let it out, you explode and light yourself on fire.
What happens when you hold your
You
sneezes
just wake
and your
up on
farts?
fire.
You
All
wake
that
up, you're
methane
on
build
fire.
up.
Like the guy told me, I'm going to explode you.
Yeah.
You're gonna blow me? You're gonna explode me? Wow. I blow you hard, blow you big time. I blow your whole family. I explode you. I'm like, wow. That sounds like a rough time. So Donnie Cho repels ghosts with flatulence.
Hmm.
Where is Donnie Cho? I haven't seen him in a while. All right, folks. So if you want to be in the giveaway, only one person is piped up. So if anybody else wants to win, let me know because we have one person so far. So I'm giving it a few minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night. I got to go. I got to run. I got things I got to do. Yeah, exactly. What a caring giver he is. We got Juggalette. We got a Juggalette. What's going on, Juggalette? Somebody, yeah, there's a contest, Juggalette. What you got to do is just become a member. Yeah, we can get that chair for that. Sounded like it again. That's got some noise.
Just
going
this. Yeah.
on. Yeah, you're right, Zachary. That's a good point. Green mist. It does. It really does. It's something I had discussed with several researchers, David Weatherly. I talked to Linda Godfrey about it. There's been a lot of people who I've discussed.
A lot of different colored mist too. Like,
thank you, Jackie. She's a great show. Well, we try. And thank you to the people who send me their encounters. And not all of them are listeners of the show. Corey is. Well, when he can.
Thank you to all our listeners who go and, tell your friends to send us stories. Because that's often, a lot of times, how it happens is like, oh, someone listens to our show, so they'll go find their friend to send us a story.
Mamie says, got my Patreon yesterday, but I've been a loyal paratrooper since March 2020. But you were a Patreon member for how long? Because if you've been a Patreon member, we haven't had it since 2020. But if you're a Patreon member since 2020, you should have got it way before then.
I think she's saying she's been a listener since 2020, but she
Yeah.
just got her Patreon yesterday.
Okay. Just making sure, because she's been around for a while. But glad to hear you got that. That's awesome. I love it when you get your stuff, post it on the Paranormal Roundtable group and in the Paranormal Roundtable page. And, so people know that we're not just, they're trying to stir rumors now saying that we don't actually send anybody anything. And the people that are posting this is fake. And I'm like,
there's a lot of fake posts from
they'll
people.
say
Good
anything,
luck with
dude.
that one.
Just like they did with the conference. Remember when they took the first conference?
Yeah.
When everybody was leaving, they took a picture and they said, "This is the conference." Like it was empty.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
last
at
day.
the end of it, when
Yeah, at
everybody
the end
left.
when everybody had left at 9. In the conference, the first one went till 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
It was almost 9:30, something like that. And Valente was the last speaker. And so they took a picture at the end with just a few people sitting there and standing there. And they said, "Oh, this is all people who showed up at the conference, like 450 people. That was it." Yeah, okay. And then they tried to do the same thing with the second conference, and that was like 650 people. I'm like, get out of here, man. Y'all got to find another hobby, bro, for real. Because if you waste this much time and energy, how do you do a job? Oh, that's right. They don't work. Because if you worked, you wouldn't be doing this shit. Because I had to work Friday, and so that's why we couldn't do the show. It was a work emergency, and I'm the last of the Mohicans when it's like everybody's at work and you got 20 people going. Well, guess what? You got to go. So it was go to work or do the show. I can't do both. I got to work. I don't make enough money from this.
What kind of studio corporation do they think we have where we can just have hundreds of people sending photos of our merch?
It gets dumber all the time, man. I mean, they say the dumbest things, and it's like, and then the stuff that they come up with, dude. Like, and I know some of these people, they think that that they've been able to do this and they're hiding. I know who you are. Okay, I know exactly who you are. There's a couple of them been around for a long time doing this crap because they're so stupid. They use the same logo on their Facebook as they do on their Reddit account. That's how dumb you are. Okay, Vato, Odele Vato. I know who you are. So just keep doing what you're doing, stupid ass. That's why your channel has 600-800 people, whatever, and you say all this nasty, evil, vile crap, and every time there's a problem, you're right in the middle of there doing whatever you're doing. I know who you are. I know y'all. And Jesus says you'll know them by their works. You know them. They're ridiculous people. But who cares? The point is that they can't stop us, dude. And it just keeps on. They keep trying. And it's like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. You'll never catch us, man. Never. Carlos Hernandez, what's up, man? I'll say this. I know that one of them has that name. Carlos, you know who you are. You can quit playing because I figured you out a long time ago. But yeah, you'll know them by their works. Very jealous. Celoso, as we say in Spanish, right, homie? Yeah. But you're nobody, and you're all nobody. You'll be nobody. You'll because you don't work, you don't do nothing. Well, I think he does. I think he's one of them that does. But he still finds time to troll and say horrible crap. You know, they never sleep. But the funny thing about it is, one of them said, "Hey, success is the best form of revenge." Well, I'd say we're pretty successful. And I'm going to say something before I leave here about success. There are people who believe that they can't achieve it. But folks, if you believe it and if you want it, you have to really want it. You have to have the ambition and the will to feed it. Right? Just wanting is just going to create pain for you. Right? But if you want it and you really you want to, you got to figure out a way to get it. Right? You can do it. You have the power within you. You all do to get what you want, to get what you need, to get all of what you need and most of what you want. You're going to get everything because sometimes God says, "Hey, this isn't for you." And he knows best. But there are times when you're going to have to really work for it. And if you're not really to work for it, then you're not going to have it. There you go. Mamie just says, your thoughts create your reality. Yep, exactly, Juggalette. And then here we have Scorpion. What do you say? They're too focused on, what do you say? They're too focused on hating to push themselves to be better, which is why they never gain anything in life except more misery. Yep, that's exactly right. KD7, unfortunately, yes. You do. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. We had a great show. Tomorrow night, let me find out if this guy messaged me back. If he did, then that's where it's at. We're going to be here tomorrow. He did not. So, but if I can talk to this guy and I can get this set up, we'll do it tomorrow. And Arlene, thank you for that extra information. I'm going to take that and we're going to disseminate it, and then we'll do a show about what you told me. But and it's a lot. And it just, every time I get something about these dogmen, it just makes it more weird. It just gets weirder. Somebody also made a logo for us, and I can't remember off the top of my head because there's so many people who've done this, but this person did a really good job. I'll look it up. They sent me a file, and it was a Dogman Paranormal Roundtable logo.
That's cool.
Let me see if I can find it real quick, because I got to show. This is really cool. I mean, it was. See if I can find this. And I get a lot of. So here's one of the logos they made. This one was really neat. I thought that one was cool. Look at that.
That is cool.
And then they made a few others. Let's see if I can find it. And I was going to say I'm going to make a shirt for the Patreon members or for membership members maybe. And this was the shirt idea that they came up with. Look at that.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, I like it.
So that we're going to do something with that. It might start out as a Patreon thing, and then we're going to stock it. We're going to put that in the store. We're gonna trademark that and put it in the Paranormal Roundtable store. We're going to do all that coming up on Tuesday. We're real close to getting it done. We've already been looking at some of the stuff that they've built the site for us. It's already done. We just got to go in and
tweak it.
Yep,
Finalize it.
We're ready to go. Oh, there you go. That's you, Freddie. Thank you for that, Freddie Denny. There he is, right there, the man himself. But thank you. Juggalette says, where is your full schedule posted? I don't have a schedule posted. I wish we had more people that could do more to help us get more organized, but right now until I can do this full time, there's not really anything I can do. I gotta work. I gotta work. And that's what I gotta do, man. Thank you, folks, for donating. Thank you. It really helps, keeps the show going, and you can always donate through the PayPal anytime. You don't have to do it. You can do it anytime you want. Post a link to the PayPal.
Thank you also to our every new listener that comes and joins. We appreciate it. You guys are what's making the channel grow, and we also appreciate our old listeners who stay here with us still.
Chad had a good question here. Thank you for that. Amy Cros's prayers for a clean bill of health. I hope so. I'll know something in the next week or so, but tomorrow I got to go in for the initial whatever. But Chad says, "Are y'all still working Queen Boudica site?" No, we're not. No.
Oh, thankfully.
It's just, yeah, there you go, Scorp.
No, Patty, you don't. It's the membership is on YouTube. If you come down and you go to the subscribe button, you'll see a button right next to it. They'll say join. If you press that, it'll bring up the memberships. And once you want to do that, it'll automatically happen.
Yeah, they would have been, Chad. That's I was hoping to interview her, but they're too volatile.
It's too dangerous.
Too
I wouldn't
dangerous
want
talking
you
to those
doing
people.
that.
Yeah, they're liable to impale you.
Half cannibals. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, they're just, well, they're not technically. Well,
they
say they were chased out by cannibals. Who knows?
They might have been
But,
chased out
I
by
mean,
normal people for being cannibal. You can't trust these
The
people.
Goths were like, "Oh, we're being chased out by the Germans or Germani or whatever." Well, who knows? You say that, but you're just as bad as anything else.
Yeah.
The Visigoths, the Huns have chased us. That's why we're destroying your city, because they came and destroyed ours. Thanks.
Since you put it that way,
Thanks, German companion.
have at it.
Whatever. But crazy stuff. Thank you for donating. Thank you to everybody. We love you. Good night.